Hey everyone, welcome back. We are doing a deep dive today on something super interesting, um, ginger
Yeah.
and its possible connections to the Bible.
It really is amazing when you think about how long this humble root has been used for like thousands of years, and not just for its flavor either.
That's so true. It's like we're rediscovering all this wisdom that's been around forever, especially with superfoods being so trendy right now.
Mm.
But we're going a little deeper than just the latest health craze. You know?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, we're really going to see if maybe ginger was even like a part of Yahweh's plan for us to be healthy,
Mm.
especially when you think about all those dietary laws he laid out.
I love that approach. So many times we try to separate the spiritual side of things from the physical, but with Yahweh, it's really all connected.
That's a great point. So is there even any proof that ginger was around back in those times?
Well, there's that passage in Exodus,
Mm.
Exodus 30, 34, and 35, I think.
Yeah.
And it talks about this holy incense that had all these specific ingredients, stacte and onylica and galbanum, and then it just says other spices.
So it could have been in there, especially when you think about how valuable ginger was in trade back then. It was almost as sought after as frankincense and myrrh.
Right. And if you look at the way ginger was used all throughout history, it definitely makes sense in the context of incense. I mean, it was used for purification, for
Mhm.
medicine, even as a symbol of warmth and vitality.
Okay, but here's where I really start to get interested. We know now that ginger has all these health benefits that are backed up by science. Anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, good for your digestion.
Oh, yeah, the list goes on and on. It can help with nausea, too,
Mhm.
and blood sugar regulation, even boost your immune system. It's kind of wild how modern research is really confirming all this stuff that ancient cultures just sort of knew intuitively.
It's like science is finally catching up. Which brings us back around to those dietary laws from Yahweh. There's a big emphasis on clean eating in Leviticus and Deuteronomy.
And it's not just about what's physically clean, right? It's about choosing foods that really nourish you and sustain you physically and spiritually. It's like if you're putting junk into your body, it's going to be harder to connect with the divine, you know?
Definitely.
It's sad, but it's so true. Just look at what most people are eating these days. All that processed food, fast food, sugary drinks. It's so far removed from the natural stuff that Yahweh gave us.
Yeah, and it's like we've lost sight of what it really means to nourish ourselves. We're so focused on convenience and instant gratification that we miss out on the good stuff,
Yeah.
the natural, God-given food.
It's almost ironic, isn't it? Back then, they didn't have all this processed junk that we have now. But maybe their diets were actually better in some ways because they had to rely on what the earth was giving them.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that for sure. And this is where this whole idea of superfoods comes in. These are foods that are just packed with nutrients. And they've been used for centuries to heal people. Ginger's a perfect example.
And those superfoods were Yahweh's original design, right? He gave us these plants with everything we need. That's right. And ginger is only one example. Think about all the other amazing foods that are in the Bible: figs, pomegranates, dates, olives, lentils. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Okay, so we've talked about how ginger was most likely around in biblical times and how it was really valuable and how all of its health benefits really line up with what Yahweh says about clean eating.
Mm-hmm.
But how does this all connect back to us today?
That's the million-dollar question, right? How do we take this ancient wisdom and make it work for us now?
Yeah, it's easy to feel overwhelmed with how much information is out there. But I think the key is to start small. Just try to work more of those natural God-given foods into your diet.
I couldn't agree more. And it really doesn't have to be complicated. You could start with something as simple as adding some ginger to your tea or to a smoothie. Even a small change can make a difference.
That's what I love so much about ginger. It's so versatile. You can use it in sweet and savory dishes. It's great in stir-fries, soups, marinades, anything. And it's not even that expensive.
And that's another really important point. Eating healthy the way Yahweh wants us to shouldn't be something that only rich people can do. It should be for everyone.
You're so right. And when you really think about it, ginger's a symbol of that. It's this humble root that's been used for centuries by all kinds of people. It reminds us that taking care of ourselves doesn't have to be complicated or cost a fortune. It can be as simple as adding a little spice to our lives,
Yeah.
literally.
Well said. That's what I love about this whole conversation. It's not just about the food, it's about the deeper meaning behind it.
Exactly. It's about connecting with how Yahweh designed us to be healthy and recognizing the wisdom in those dietary laws and appreciating those simple but powerful gifts he's given us.
And ginger is just one piece of that puzzle. There's so much more to learn. It's amazing to think about all the history and the spiritual stuff that's wrapped up in just a simple root.
Yeah. And speaking of history, I was reading about how ginger was traded along those spice roads centuries ago. Imagine those caravans,
Yeah.
traveling across deserts and mountains,
Mhm.
carrying all that precious ginger.
It really makes you think about the journeys those spices took and all the different cultures they were a part of. Ginger was super popular in ancient Rome and Greece and all across the Middle East.
And they weren't just using it for cooking, were they? I mean, it was medicine back then, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The ancient Egyptians used it for digestion, and traditional Chinese medicine has been using it for like everything, nausea, colds, you name
Ah,
it.
this little root has been a global health rock star for, like, forever.
And that's what I think is so cool about rediscovering all these old school remedies. It's not like we're just following the latest fads or anything. We're tapping into all this knowledge that's been passed down for generations.
It makes you wonder what else we've forgotten about,
Uh-huh.
What other natural stuff is out there that we're just not paying attention to?
That's such a good question. And it brings us back to that idea of Yahweh's plan for us. He gave us everything we need to be healthy and thrive. But we've gotten so far away from that natural abundance that he provided.
So true. We think we can outsmart nature with all this processed food and fake ingredients. But in the end, it's our bodies that pay the price.
I think people are starting to realize that, though. More and more people are understanding that real health isn't just about taking a pill. It's about giving our bodies the food that Yahweh intended for us to eat. Real, whole, natural food.
And it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. You don't have to go live off the grid and eat only raw food to benefit from this wisdom.
Exactly. Little changes can make a big difference. Just adding more fruits and veggies to your diet, or choosing whole grains over processed ones. And of course, adding in those amazing spices like ginger.
Those small changes really do add up.
Yeah.
And they can be fun, too. Who doesn't love the taste of fresh ginger in their food or their tea?
That's a really good point. Eating healthy shouldn't feel like a punishment. It should be something we enjoy, something that brings us closer to how Yahweh designed things.
Absolutely. Remember that part in Genesis 1.29 where Yahweh says, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. He's basically laying out this incredible feast for us. It's up to us to actually enjoy it.
I love that. And ginger is such a perfect symbol of that abundance and our connection to Yahweh.
It's like this little root is telling us that even in our crazy modern world, we can still find those things that Yahweh gave us from the beginning, the wisdom and the good food.
And that's a message we all need to hear. It's a message of hope and healing, and it reminds us that our bodies are sacred, and so is the food we put into them.
So where do we go from here? What should our listeners do if they feel inspired to add more ginger and other natural foods to their lives?
I think the first step is just being aware. Pay attention to what you're eating, where it comes from, how it makes you feel.
Great advice. And don't be scared to try new things. There are so many delicious ways to use ginger. You can grate it into soups and stews, add it to smoothies, make your own ginger tea.
And don't stop there. Check out other spices and herbs that have been used for centuries to keep people healthy. Turmeric, cinnamon, garlic, rosemary. The possibilities are endless.
I love it. It's like going on an adventure in the kitchen, rediscovering all these amazing flavors and ancient wisdom.
Exactly. And while you're exploring, remember, you're not just taking care of your body, you're connecting with Yahweh's plan for you.
It really is like a treasure map.
Yeah.
And ginger is just one of the treasures waiting for us to find it.
And anyone can go on this treasure hunt.
I love that. You don't need any special tools or, a degree or anything to get the benefits from these old ways of doing things.
It's all about going back to the simple way that Yahweh made things, and realizing that true health and well-being are totally within our grasp.
So as we wrap up our deep dive today, what's the main thing you want our listeners to remember from this whole conversation?
I hope they'll take away that food is so much more than just something to fill our stomachs with.
It's about giving our bodies what they need. It's about connecting. And it's about honoring Yahweh's plan for our lives.
Exactly. And ginger, with all its history and its incredible properties, it's like the perfect reminder of all that.
It symbolizes how faith and food and well-being are all tied together.
And it shows us that the wisdom in Yahweh's creation is timeless.
So next time you're at the store and you see some ginger,
Yeah.
don't just see a spice,
See a link to the past, a reminder that Yahweh provides for us, and a powerful way to take care of yourself.
And this is only the beginning.
There's a whole world of natural remedies and superfoods just waiting to be discovered.
So keep learning, keep trying new things,
Yeah.
and keep searching for that wisdom that's everywhere around us.
And most importantly, keep trusting in Yahweh's plan for you.
That's beautiful.
Right.
And to all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into ginger.
May you be blessed with health, wisdom, and an even deeper connection to Yahweh.
Shalom.